Hi, I am James Dean Vogel of the Bioprocess Institute, and today we welcome some folks from PSG Biotech. There'll be two videos that we'll be filming. First will be Andreas Frerix talking about their Quattroflow pump, and then Jay Rajagopalan, which will be talking about their flow sensors. Let's welcome the folks from PSG Biotech. Here today with some folks from PSG Biotech. Why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us who you are, and then we'll talk a little bit about the company.
Hello, Jim. This is Mike Franco. I'm the Global Sales Director.
Hello, Jim. This is Gillian Harding-Moore. I'm the Director of Marketing for PSG Biotech.
Hello, this is Andreas Frerix, and I'm Product Manager for Quattroflow Pumps.
Hi, Jim. My name is Jay Rajagopalan. I'm the Senior Director for Engineering and Product Management for Flow Products.
Very good, very good. Thank you. All right. Very good. So we're glad to have you here today. Can you tell us a little bit about PSG Biotech and kind of how all the products come together and a little bit about the company?
Well, the story begins with PSG. PSG is part of Dover, which is headquartered in Chicago, Illinois. And PSG got involved with biopharma with the acquisition of Quattroflow in 2010. Since then, we've acquired other companies, and today we have a complete portfolio that includes pumps and flow meters.
Very good. So we're going to be talking about the Quattroflow pumps and then the flow meters, the Coriolis and the ultrasonic also. I think PSG and Dover, you're also affiliated with some other companies within our single-use world where we've had them here before. Is that true?
That is correct. So we have a very close relationship with our sister company, CPC.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, you'll see the rest of the video here, and then we'll close up with everybody here. So we look forward to talking about the pumps and the flow meters. Now we're being joined by Andreas Frerix from Quattroflow Pump in PSG Biotech. Andreas, glad to have you here.
Hi, Jim.
So tell us a little bit about Quattroflow. It's been one of the more exciting, I think, stories in biotech, and your company kind of revolutionized some of the single-use pumping areas.
This is correct. So the pump was founded, or the company was founded in year 2000, and it really has some great value and some great advantages. So it's a 4-piston diaphragm pump, right? And with this technology, you can reach pressures up to 4 bar for single-use pumps and pressures up to 6 bar in multiple-use systems. So, and it really solves many issues customers did have with traditional other pump technologies.
Okay, fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about who uses these pumps and kind of, types of applications and where they're used.
That's a great question. So many customers use our pump in downstream processing, so that's one of the core strengths that we have.
Okay.
So typically in applications like tangential flow filtration, so cross-flow filtration, but also chromatography. So in various sizes, from process development, pilot scale, large-scale manufacturing. And many end users rely on this technology in these type of applications. Also, virus filtration is a typical topic.
Okay, so when you have these across, let's say from R&D through to manufacturing, what type of flow ranges do you have, or size distribution, or how big and small do you go?
Yeah, the smallest size we have is the QF30. So that has a minimum flow rate of 1 milliliter per minute. Okay. And then we have approximately, I think, 7 additional sizes in between, and they go up to 16 cubic meters per hour.
Wow. Wow.
So that is then more the large-scale manufacturing process.
Now, what are some of the advantages of this over, let's say, other similar technologies? So I know in chromatography and sometimes things like pulsation is an issue or something like that.
Right, that's exactly. So one big feature we have 4 diaphragms, right? And each diaphragm creates 1 flow or pressure pulse. But as the 4 pulses are overlapping, that eliminates the pulsation. That's
or at least very much reduces the amplitude difference between.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's not that there's 0 pulsation,
right,
but it dramatically reduces the pulsation.
Okay, kind of like the heart, I guess, right?
Exactly, yeah. some customer, we also compare this technology to our heart, right? But this creates less pulsation than our heart.
Yep.
But it's also very gentle to the product, like our heart, because the valves inside the pump are somehow similar to the valves that we have in our heart, right? So that's another important topic, that our products are very gentle to proteins and monoclonal antibodies, for example.
Okay, so the shear doesn't impact on them or do as much damage as other types of pumps.
Exactly. So it's impossible to have a pump without any shear, right?
You have to move the fluid, so you got to do something to it.
There will be some shear, of course, but it's so low that it does not damage the product.
Okay, so let's talk about maybe where we would choose this pump over other pumps in these applications. So I think, typically there might be a centrifugal pump or a rotary lobe pump. What's the advantage of this over them, or why would one use one or the other maybe?
Yeah, in TFF systems, for example, if we talk about centrifugal pumps, they create a lot of heat, right? And if you want to control the flow rate and the pressure at the same time, that can be a challenge with a centrifugal pump, right? Because as soon as you change the the pressure, the flow rate will decrease dramatically. And here we have a positive displacement pump with Quattroflow, so that makes it much easier to control flow and pressure at the same time.
So with that positive displacement, it's similar to a rotary lobe where you don't have that slippage in the head and those types of things.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's maybe talk about the multi-use versus the single use, right? So when you're multi-use, you have your diaphragms, which obviously are a polymer, and then that's within a stainless steel housing.
Right. So we have two, as you say, we have two series. We have the multiple use series, so everything like this, but it's in stainless steel, right? The housing is made of stainless steel, but the valves and the diaphragms are basically the same material, right? So these types of pumps can be CIP'd, right, cleaning in place. They can be SIP'd. They can also be autoclaved. Most of them can be.
So you take the entire head, the stainless steel head, and autoclave it. Can you autoclave the polymeric version?
As well.
Okay.
Right? So these are autoclaved quite often. That works as well.
Okay. When they're multi-use and so on, is there a life expectancy, or how long, how many SIPs, or what do people usually do with the diaphragms or the valves?
So that depends a little bit on the size, but typically we have done tests up to 20 SIP cycles, but again, it depends on the size.
Okay, and obviously each end user would have to qualify their process to what they have, cleaning, and then the effects of the cleaning and the SIP, which is a lot of the work that we do here at BPI to kind of give people those data when they need to justify their maintenance cycles and their usage capabilities.
Okay. Very good.
How about the drives? What do you have for offerings for drives? I know you offer, for an R&D, it might be a little different, or a pilot versus production, and you have different options for that.
Exactly. So we have, let's say, more simple drives with an AC motor, right? And these require a separate frequency inverter, quite often used in TFF skids, right? So where it's a separate cabinet with a frequency inverter installed. But we also have integrated drives. That means we use a servo motor with integrated power supply, so they don't need a separate frequency.
Okay.
That's one thing. But then we also have a pump controller, we call it Q-Control. So that has direct sensor connections. So you can directly connect a pressure sensor or flow sensor and then run a flow or pressure control process.
So you have the controller built into the flow or the pump drive box, or so to speak.
Exactly.
And so I guess one does not need a separate control system. You can get that all with one place.
Exactly. So you do not need a separate PLC with all these wiring and parameter settings and software and so on. So everything is integrated there.
So that could run on like a TransFlow filtration, maybe in control TMP or something like that directly.
Yeah, it can be used for cross-flow control, right? So you have a flow meter connected to it in the retentate line. And then in the TFF process, you have a flow rate control with that pump.
So we could have the PSG Biotech Coriolis flow meter and do everything and integrate them quite nicely.
Exactly.
So one-stop shopping. Look at that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And you can also define alarms, right? So once you have reached a certain pressure, the pump will shut off automatically.
Okay. Does that have data capabilities that one can get the data out of that, so, you know, for their batch integrity and things that way?
Yeah, so you can lock the data on a USB stick, so that
Okay.
works. So, but this is really more for process development, right? It's not
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. But at least it gives that, so if someone maybe is on a budget or whatever, they can kind of get an entire TFF skid, cross-flow skid running with this one device, get the data, and then they know what they need to do to go forward.
Exactly.
Okay.
In addition, we have OEM versions. So that means these are pumps that can be integrated into systems, into a cabinet. So the motor, everything is in the cabinet, and the pump head is outside of the cabinet.
Okay.
So this is mainly used in filtration chromatography skids from large OEM manufacturers.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Anything else you want to add on your Quattroflow pumps and their capabilities and uses?
Yes, so we have also now ATEX versions available.
Okay.
Because we get more and more inquiries now for applications
And
dealing
some of the
with
processes
ethanol.
start to go with solvents.
Exactly. So we have now 3 sizes already available, ATEX certified, and we will soon add additional sizes with ATEX certification.
Wow. Wow. Very
That's
good.
something that's new, and also at the Interfex this year, we've introduced a new drive system for the QF 1200, where you can adapt also smaller pump chambers. So you have only one drive,
And you can
use
interchange different pump heads.
exactly. You have an adapter, and then you can have smaller sizes as well on one of
Nice.
the same drive.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Well, that sounds exciting. We like to ask folks when they're here just some general information. Is there any advice you'd give a young person coming into the biopharm space, kind of from your experience or so on? What type of advice would you offer a young person new to this area of process technology?
I think it's very important to get familiar with the equipment. So if
Okay.
you're more on the process side, really play with it. Play with water, right? Go to the extreme, right, to find out what is the capability of the equipment, what can it handle in terms of flow rates, pressure, and so on. So you can read a lot in books, but at the end you have to play with it like you do here
Yep.
in your institute, right? That's really important.
Well, you know, what we say is, you know, there's 2 things we say is you're going to get wet at some time, so you might as well get over that fear. And then it's kind of like out of Star Wars, become at one with the process. You really need to get in depth into there, especially with bioprocesses, to think like a cell or think like the molecule, to really get into there and to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Well, thank you, Andreas. It's been
Thank
a
you, Jim.
pleasure. And we'll hear a little bit more from PSG Biotech. And thanks to everyone for being here.